In usual trust development processes, you've got what might be termed self and group awareness. That is a reference point for interpretation of how we're getting along with other, whether this is in a monogamous relationship, or we're in our family, or in a group, in an organization, in a culture, in a religion, in a nation, or between nations. And that modality, that process of awareness, is often fraught with projection, fear-based projection. If we have been at war with another country in the past, does it make sense that we might fear that they might go into a warlike mode in the future? And then might our fear affect the quality of teamwork and collaboration between us and them in a detrimental way? And would that fear projection be accurate decisional information for collaborative process, or would it potentially create invisible barriers of obscuration to the collaborative process and keep us in a non-unified dynamic, keep us from working together constructively and with trust, love, and faith and care? Truly. So can our history itself, our recorded, imagined, interpreted experiences of life and wounding or victimization or pain, unhealed pain or trauma, can those be obscurations on our potential for collaborative, unified action for the common good? Might we require others to jump through a bunch of hoops to prove to us that they are trustworthy before we will collaborate with them, or meet some requirement, standard, or specification of our beliefs, our values, our process, our behaviors before we're willing to go into a room with them to talk substantively and sincerely and vulnerably? And do we have time for that to be the paradigm of trust building in order for us to unify, work together, solve climate change in 8 years? Is that prior mode of attaining trusting, conscious collaboration in care, love, and faith now obsolete? Is it now potentially, literally self-destructive if we don't choose to supplant it with something that works better, a new model, a new path, a new process, a new way of relating, a new way of trusting, a new way of caring, a new way of loving, a new way of consciously collaborating? So all of us would tend to operate to some extent from prior experiences and or relational interactions, our memories of them, our recordings of them, our interpretations of them, which are not truths. And we take them to be truths, or we believe our own stories. And we believe our own stories so much so that we may not be willing to be vulnerable to the good intentions of another. And if we do not choose to become vulnerable to the good intentions and possibilities of the other, might we miss a precious opportunity for us to bond, to collaborate, to solve climate change, and to learn to operate in harmonious unity? So we would suggest that understanding, true understanding, accurate understanding of what is, not what we project, not what we've experienced, not how, when we felt wounded or victimized, not operating from control and safety strategies, not operating from projected fear, truly understanding what is in every moment will allow us to transcend prior trust building modalities. Transparency can be a very important part of that process. We built an agreement with Iran to not generate nuclear materials that could be utilized and weaponized into an atomic or hydrogen weapon. That agreement, which was quite a struggle to arrive at, that said, that agreement required a degree of verifiable transparency on a constant basis to ensure that no primal motivations or competitive motivations or fear motivations or agendas, political agendas or social agendas or any other kind of agenda might drive that country into a mode of attempting to develop weapons of mass destruction, in part because we projected fearfully onto them that if they did attain such a weaponization capacity, that they might use it to destabilize the world or to destroy Israel or some other country. That process took a long time. Just that agreement, which has since not been upheld by us, by the way, not taking any side, not saying the agreement was a good agreement or a bad agreement or the right agreement or a wrong agreement or one that should have been made or one that shouldn't have been made. Simply to say that the process of arriving at agreements that are stabilizing globally enough to support resolution of climate change is a foundational necessity, that there must be that attained capacity. We must arrive at agreements and uphold those agreements, operate from those agreements, evolve those agreements, have monitoring processes for those agreements, and a governance mechanism that ensures that they will be upheld with integrity and consistently. So trust model building is an interactive process. It's a mutual learning process on the part of any group, nation, or individual, or any two people or more that are in any relationship of any kind. So the dynamic of feelings of connection with other are often key and core to our trust building process. All human beings have different feelings about everything. If you ask people their definition of care or love, you'll get a different definition from every person you ask. If you ask any individual their definition of a quality relationship, you'll get a different definition. In our world, we have not been working towards arriving at agreed upon definitions of the common good, of a sustainable future, of a quality, integrous, trust-based, loving, caring relationship. In part because we've been striving to do everything other than that. We've been competing, controlling, fearing, projecting, experiencing victim, perpetrator, rescuer dynamics, hating ourselves and each other, judging and punishing. We've been busy doing something other than that which is foundationally functional for species survival. We've been having, getting, acquiring, accumulating, and feeding rather than serving and sustaining and healing self and other. This is a moment, a species level choice point, an inflection point for choosing a new way to determine what is of value, what is of importance, what is necessary, what will and will not work, what is and is not sustainable, how we will or we will not move forward together. This process of arriving at that new reality of how we live life on this planet, what the process of human life is, together, is something that we can do intelligently and consciously and proactively rather than backing into it through violence, hatred, fear, necessity, damage to the planet, toxification of our social and emotional world, through the experiencing the pain and suffering of disunity and inequality and non-inclusion.